a trauma therapist, something I tell my clients quite often is that the difference between a predator in the wild is that everyone knows that they're a predator. The difference between a predator in the wild and one that's human is that the human does a very good job of trying to hide themselves. If you have ever experienced a coercive relationship, then the conversation around Shannon Sharpe has been very triggering for you. The conversation around Shannon Sharpe, P. Diddy, and even R. Kelly and men like them is very triggering for you. Today, I want to talk about something that I haven't heard online, and that's how coercive relationships happen. Because we have to be honest that men like Shannon Sharpe look for relationships in which there is a power differential. They look for relationships in which they are able to exert, whatever way that is, power and dominance in the relationship. If you're new here, my name is Cynthia. I'm a licensed therapist and coach. This is Heal the New Sexy. Be sure to comment and subscribe because I want to continue this conversation down in the comments. So I'm not just talking about bad relationships, and I'm going to define coercion for you because this may be for some of you the first time you've heard of this term. But coercion is the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats, and it can be very subtle. It could be very subtle. It could be at work. This can happen. At church, this can happen. In schools, this can happen. Whether you're in college and it's a professor, it's one person using their authority, their influence in order to persuade you in order to do something. This can even happen in marriages, in dating, where one person persuades the other to do something that they don't want to do. It could be you're married, or maybe you were previously married and you didn't want to have sex. So then he engages in the silent treatment in order to punish you. And you don't want that punishment. So what you do is that you give in. Okay? That's coercion. That's manipulation. So we've all seen what has happened lately as it relates to Shannon Sharpe and the settlement. But this isn't just celebrity drama. It reflects a larger pattern of coercive behavior masked as love or leadership. I believe ever since, and some of you may disagree with me, ever since the whole Kevin Samuels and the whole conversation of if I'm a high value man, that gave a lot of men the green. No, it didn't give them the green light. They already had the green light. It emboldened a lot of men to continue in bad behavior. And it wasn't men that were six figures. It was just men in general that were engaging or are still continuing to engage in unhealthy behavior and abusive behavior as it relates to women. So I want to talk about what coercive control is, right? Coercion is not always loud. It's not always physical. Sometimes it's in the pressure to be silent, submissive, or emotionally compliant. Sometimes, especially as women, and I may get some flack for this, especially if you are a Christian woman, there are some messages that have been preached over the pulpit that are very coercive. I will give you an example because I love talking about this in therapy and coaching. The whole concept of when you get married and your body doesn't belong to you and don't deny your husband your body is coercive. Go ahead and argue with me. It's okay. I heard somebody just say, oh, that's why single women are keeping women single. Yeah, I heard you. Go ahead and type it because I know you want to. It's coercive. Because you need to be mindful that you were created as a daughter first. And just because two become one doesn't mean that means perpetual consent. That's not what that means. That's coercion for my Christian ladies, okay? Examples of coercive tactics: guilt tripping over your boundaries. You have a boundary and he begins to guilt trip you about that. Financial control, being financially abusive, controlling you with finances, isolation from family and friends. All of a sudden, you can't hang out with your friends anymore. He isolates you. We saw this with Cassie, with her being isolated from her family and her friends. Love bombing followed by withdrawal. So he does this because he's conditioning you that you want the pleasant behavior. You want him to be happy. So he'll love bomb you and then he'll pull everything back because he wants you to lean forward. That's coercion. Expecting submission Oh, they like to talk about submission. Ooh, they like to talk about submission online in exchange for protection or provision. When I tell you that that word submission is triggering to me, because many men use it as a form of manipulation and control. Submission, right? Submission shouldn't be on the condition of you being loved or being provided for. When your submission determines how he acts, that's abuse. Now, let me give you some signs that you're in a coercive relationship. You feel punished for expressing your needs, wants, and desires. Your self-trust is slowly eroding away. You used to trust yourself and your decision-making, but now you question yourself. He has you questioning. You may ask, am I crazy? What is going on? You're always adapting yourself to avoid setting him off. And we saw some of that in those text messages. Threats of violence. And can I say this to you? Don't even let a man play with you as it relates. He shouldn't play with you like that. Oh, girl, I'm going to slap you if you do. No, we don't play like that. We don't play like that. He frames his control as leadership or protection. Your intuition is loud, but you feel guilty for listening to it. We all have an internal alarm system on the inside of us that God gave us. But now you're not listening to it. Now you're questioning yourself. He's charismatic in public, but emotionally dismissive in private. So everybody thinks he's this good guy. Ha ha, it's laughs, it's funny. But behind closed doors, he's cold, he's distant, unless you're doing what he wants you to do when he wants you to do it. You feel like leaving would be dangerous, or you feel obligated to him. You feel like you owe him. We see this in Hollywood when a person's like, well, this person discovered me. And so you feel obligated to that person. Or this person cared for me when, my mama was sick or this or that. One thing about a predator, predators pick those that are sick, that they perceive to be sick, which means they perceive for them to be weak. And you have to know that. You have to know that in these types of relationships, that person is coming in and they want there to be they want to feel like they have something over you. Shannon Sharpe didn't look for a woman who was equal to him. He looked for a woman in a position that he could take advantage of. And many times these men in these coercive relationships are not looking for partners who are equal. They probably can't attract them if they wanted to. They're looking for partners in which they have something over, or they can. That's why you may have been in high school, you're 16 years old, and you're getting attention from men that are in their 30s. Why? Because they're looking to be able to come in and manipulate. That's the purpose of it. It's not like they say, oh, you're so mature. No, that's a lie. He is trying to set up a coercive and manipulative relationship with you. Coercion often hides behind a smile and a deep voice. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's just a look in public to check you. Sometimes it's a subtle threat that only you know it's a threat. Everybody else thinks it's a joke, but they know exactly what they're doing. And this happens in many arenas. This happens in Hollywood. This happens in church. This happens in academia. On your job right now, you may be experiencing coercion. You want that promotion? Oh, wow, you're going through a hard time financially. This is the third time you've been late this week. What can we do about that? Coercion. Coercion. And if you're a mother and you have a daughter and a son, you need to be speaking to them about coercion. You need to speak to them. Well, I'm saying mother because usually my channel is mostly women. There may be men who watch this. If you're a parent, please teach your daughters and your sons about coercion and manipulation so that they know this when they go out and they're dating. Now let's talk about why some men seek coercive dynamics. It's insecurity masked as dominance. So especially men who are like, oh, I make six figures. They have this unhealthy mindset that just because they make six figures, that means that they should be able to be abusive towards women physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, because that's really what it is. It's really them being insecure. If you're trying to partner from a place of power, you're insecure. You should see your partner as your equal. If you are trying to get with someone so that you have something over them, then you're insecure. And many women have experienced this. Control as a coping mechanism for unhealed wounds. One thing Shannon Sharpe talks about, if you hear him, he talks about his upbringing. He talks about his grandmother raising him, and his mother wasn't there. He talks about being poor. He mentions those things. So there could be unhealed mother wounds that he has, wounds of abandonment, wounds of rejection as relates to his mom and his father. Growing up poor, being teased. Socialized to believe that leadership equals control versus leadership equal being serving. There's many men who feel like, oh, because I'm supposed to be the leader, I'm in charge, versus that I should engage in servant leadership. How do I serve the people who are around me? How do I serve my community? How do I serve my wife and my children? How do I serve? Serving. Leadership should be about service. Preference for women they can mold or manipulate. It's not about love, it's about power. This whole situation was about power in order to feed the ego. And the sad part about it is that he got many public warnings, and there's no telling how many private warnings he got before this happened. And if you don't get anything else from this video, I want you to understand that coercion has to do with power. Power. I don't have power in anywhere else in my life, so I try to operate here. I'm going to take power here in order to feed my ego, in order to feed my insecurities, and not address them, not go to counseling, not do my healing work. I'm going to get in a relationship. And let me tell you this is not the first time he probably engaged in the relationship. This is the first time that we heard about it. These men who engage in this behavior have done it over and over and over and over again. They have mastered the craft. And by the time they got to you, there's probably 8 other women who they've already have engaged in this with. That way, by the time they got to you, they were able to fly under the radar, and you're not even able to identify it for what it is. So I want to share with you how to heal after a coercive relationship. It's so important that you begin to engage and rebuild your self-trust and your intuition. You have to begin to trust yourself and the decisions that you make. Sometimes when you leave these relationships, you're questioning yourself, and did I make the right decision, or what's going to happen to me? How am I going to take care of myself? But you have to build your self-trust. You have to know that you are capable of making good and healthy relationships for yourself. And if you were married and you had children, for your children. You have to trust your intuition. You have to trust the inner voice that says, nope, don't go there. Nope, don't do that. No, he's not safe. You have to trust that. You have to go with it. And you have to be consistent. Just like in a relationship, if a relationship, the trust is broken, the other person who broke the trust has to be consistent. You now have to be consistent with yourself and the decisions that you make. Learning safe relationships don't feel like performance. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you do. You shouldn't be jumping through hoops in order to receive love. If you're doing that, then we have to check, where did you learn that you have to perform for love? Was that in your childhood? Or do you have a history of having toxic relationships? Or did you, even in your childhood, witness someone engage in this type of performance, and that's why you continue that behavior? So you have to understand that you're worthy of love just because of who you are, not that you have to perform for it. Reclaim your voice, your values, and your vision for your life. Your voice is powerful. Don't ever let someone silence your voice again. Your voice is powerful. No voice that I know of, no voice is the same. God created your voice uniquely. Don't let anyone take it from you. Advocate for yourself. In a relationship, it's your responsibility to teach someone how to treat you. And when you notice that this person is trying to engage in these type of behaviors, you use your voice to get out of there. Also, what are your values? One, you need to value yourself. But also, what do you value in relationships? What do you value in life? You also, as it relates to healing, may need therapy, coaching, and support circles. Who is in your circle? Who is in your corner that can care for you as you're moving out? One thing that I notice, when somebody's moving out of a toxic relationship, they may have limited support because they've been isolated. So you also have to rebuild those friendships and those relationships that you may have let go of or been isolated from, or even family relationships because of this. And sometimes that's why some women don't leave relationships, because you're isolated. You don't have any support. You don't have anyone who you can turn to. But it's going to be so important that as you're healing from this, that you rebuild your support circle. I want you to know that it's important for you to trust your intuition. Trust your intuition, because it's not going to steer you wrong. Don't allow the words of a man or a situation to cause you to stop trusting yourself. Don't allow yourself to get into these types of situations. And that's easier said than done. And I know that, because when these men present, they don't present like the lions and tigers and bears that they are. They present as gentle and understanding, and they present as fun, and then they get their hook in you. And that's what makes these relationships hard or difficult to leave, because before you know it, you're walking by the mirror and you can't recognize yourself. I want you to know that there are some men that are intentional with finding relationships where there is a power differential. Now, if you find yourself in that or see that, you need to understand that that is a red flag, and that man is in this relationship for his ego and for his also for his insecurities. And an insecure man, in my opinion, is a dangerous man. But I want to hear from you below. I want you to know that you deserve to be in a relationship where your no is respected, your voice is honored, and your presence is not manipulated but celebrated. You are to be celebrated in your relationships, not manipulated. Okay? But I love you so much. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. This is Heal the New Sexy.